Welcome randomly to a random time frame, a random episode of Let's Set the Tone. But this is a discussion episode, which is really exciting. I haven't done one of these in a hot minute. And, we're going to talk about a show here shortly that, kind of near and dear, maybe to some degree for us. At one point, maybe a cultural phenomenon. Now a super polarizing series or franchise, whatever you want to say, I suppose. But, either way, I appreciate you popping in here, listening, whether this is a live or post as well. So, I wanted to have this discussion last night. We were trying to do this, but Evie Mux has unfortunately had some issues recently, and they're not still completely ironed out, but they are almost completely ironed out. It means I got a lot of work on my end of it, and everybody else does, it seems to be. But we got to fix. We're able to do this, and to go through and get schedules aligned sometimes it's also really tough as well. So here we are. We're going to be able to do this conversation about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon Season 3 finale, and that season is now done. So I'm going to bring up my guest here shortly, and you probably already know who that is. But I do want to say I hope you're all doing well. Hope things are going well. It's just been a busy summer as always. Last week was crazy, super, super busy going on. A lot of things. You can check that out in my Monday video here on YouTube, the short, or on Instagram, the reel. But the weekend was crazy as well. But, hey, I mean, it is what it is, right? We zoomed all the way. I swear that last week just kind of zoomed right through. But here we are. It's Monday again. Either way, we got to respawn. We got to restart. So, but without too much further ado, I'll sit here and just gab and do my thing forever. I do want to bring on my good friend and also guest, none other than Rohit Raju. What's up, bro?
Dude, what's up? Can't wait to speak some House of the Dragon. But first,
Mm-hmm.
I have to give a shout out to Tone for gifting me this very awesome T800 from Terminator 2 Hot Toys. He brought this over to my house the other day, and I was blown away. I've never had a Hot Toys figure. They've always been really cool. I'm a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Absolutely love his body of
Right.
work and his bodybuilding days. Inspired me to get into shape. So shout out to you, Tone.
Yeah,
Really appreciate this.
for sure.
I haven't had a chance to unbox it yet, but I have a spot for it. And when I do, I will definitely tag you in the pics because this is one of the coolest gifts I've ever had. So thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. He needs a good home, and as much as I love Arnie and a lot of our close friends do, I don't know that anybody loves Arnie as much as you. To be fair, so
Yeah.
right. So he needed a good home, and I knew where he'd go. So no, I'm glad you liked that. I can't wait to see you kind of pull them apart because there's a lot of pieces in there too. There's a lot of things going on in that. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how you build them out and get some photos in there.
I
But
It's gonna be crazy because I love the SH figure arts, and then I remember seeing the Hot Toys. I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then boom, I'll move
right.
this here in my house. I'm very happy, so it's gonna be sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, I can't wait to see what you do with it. And like I told you, I think the other day, get him outside in the backyard, just lay in the grass, do some photos, check out some stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Some of the lighting you can get with that too, because that natural lighting is just hard to beat. So,
Yeah.
yeah, gnarly. Yeah, it's a great figure. Like I said, I didn't even bust it open. I was just like, I know where you should be going, but
I appreciate it.
that's a whole other tale. Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Let's talk some House of the Dragon season 3.
Yeah, so I mean, I know we kind of talked about at the beginning here. Boy, Game of Thrones in general, like I kind of said too, and I think that we can all agree that it can wait from this cultural changing phenomenon. I mean, think about our days back in GameStop, how often we were getting in product and things we were able to sell or get excited about, Funko Pops or mini dragon eggs, all the goblets and flags and all this stuff, to going through where it ended. And it's almost like for years, like nobody spoke of it except like in gatherings, and everybody was upset about, like, it just kind of like was such a subpar ending to such a long franchise. So
Yeah.
um so we can kind of start there, I guess. Like as fans of Game of Thrones in general, like, you know when they started announcing other stuff, like, you're really big into the lore compared to a lot of people I know too. I know you love diving really deep into the
Oh,
lore.
love it.
So kind of I guess synopsis some your feelings on that, which I kind of I got a good idea, and then how it kind of still like was allow you able to bridge into House of Dragon.
I was worried. I wasn't a fan of the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. I was very disappointed. There was a few things that I was a fan of, but overall, it just didn't. I felt like, and I think what people, I kind of look at it now. I see it more with the House of the Dragon. You mentioned how Game of Thrones has become polarizing. I feel like you have your fans of spectacle, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have your fans of substance. And I really feel like this season showed that House of the Dragon is more spectacle than substance. So you have those people that just want to watch it and they get invested in the characters and they just want to be enjoyed and just have a good time, entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people more like us where we're used to the high fantasy, the very smart, intelligent political intrigue, writing style, and then it becomes almost like Tom Clancy compared to like Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's more Game of Thrones season 8 veered more towards the spectacle over substance, and now House of the Dragon, I fear, is getting to that point as well. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, who has a deep dive, I love to deep dive in the lore of things. Lord of the Rings, same thing. Like Silmarillion is one of my favorite books. I have this coffee table book of the history of Westeros, which I have read so many times. I've actually gone back and started to listen to Fire and Blood audiobook, and you can just tell there's a huge difference. And
Mm-hmm.
at least as far as like the quality and the descriptiveness and just the level of writing. And I think that's where it splits the fans. Some people just want to be entertained. Some people are okay with what happens. And then some of us are like, man, I expect a little bit more from this franchise that
Right.
really set the bar with the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, kind of dropped the ball. And then same thing, House of Dragons season 1, and then 2 and 3, you're kind of seeing it going in that same direction. So the disappointment is there for people like us, where then you do have those people that are like, well, I don't understand why are you guys complaining about it? Because I just don't think we view it in the same light. So it's a little bit different.
That man, that's a really good way, and I almost feel like I haven't really thought about that too deep or often enough because it is kind of a split there. And I
Hmm.
don't think there's really any wrong way to take it either way. I do
No,
think if you can find that good balance, like a lot of earlier Game of Thrones seasons did, is what made it so good. You got a little bit of both, I think. But the more I think about that, and here's the problem with that, because that's fine if you like spectacle and you want more like. There's a lot of like slow burn, boring movies that I've got friends like, yeah, like Cappadocian's one. Sean, he's like, I can't watch that; it's too boring for me. He doesn't have the attention
mhm,
span for me, and I get it. That's fine, but he's self aware enough to admit that, right?
right.
And that's the thing about the spectacle or the deep diving storytelling, slow burn, or the intrigue or whatever the political stuff, you have to at least like whether you like one another, you have to be enough self-aware of it to I think recognize that and also say, yeah, well, I just really like the spectacle. Instead, the problem that happens is that the people on both sides that like for whatever reason not only will defend their side but try to make it seem like they also are defending the bad side of it too, if that makes sense, right? Like
Yes,
it's
yeah,
almost like like I love it so much that I just have to defend it and that's the way it's got to be. Where I look at everything, and I know you're the same exact way too. Brent's the same way. A lot of us that go to the movies together, we all are very self-aware of what we do or don't like, what we get upset about, what we don't. And even if we love a movie, right, we're always still going to critique it because nothing's ever perfect, and that's perfectly fine.
right.
And I think that's such an important thing to remember in anything is that you don't have to die on that hill. You can say you love it and recognize that it's spectacle, enjoyment, entertainment, and also say in the same breath that yeah, but the story was kind of lacking, but I still enjoyed it, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine, and I think that's where there's a big problem there. So, not to get too sidetracked and long winded on that, but you really kind of unlocked that thought process for me on that.
Yeah, I've tried to because you know me, I can't turn my brain off sometimes. If
Yeah.
I always use Star Wars as an example, the first trilogy to me set the bar
Mm-hmm.
of quality and science fiction fantasy for
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars. So when I think of Star Wars, that's what my go-to is. Whereas my friends who are a little bit younger, their first, uh, I guess, interaction with Star Wars was the prequels, where it's not the same quality, but
So Wizard Annie.
Yeah, so you see those people, they're growing up now. So to
Yeah,
them, the
yeah,
prequels, they're so misunderstood. They're the gospel. They're the greatest movies of all time. And it's like, no, it's because that's your childhood. And I get it. Like, that's your childhood. But I've had to step outside the box and be like, okay, I understand why people like this.
hmm
This is why I don't like it. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. And then, but you know, sometimes where it's like, this is not quality.
hmm
And I have to be able to turn my brain off and enjoy these things about it. But I know it's lacking in a lot of ways. And that's how season three is for me. It is a beautiful mess. I enjoy a good chunk of things about it, but I see the flaws, and it is heavily
right.
flawed. And I'm worried for season four. I'm really worried for season four because the writing has really reminded me of Game of Thrones season eight, and also the interviews with the showrunners and the main writers. There's that hubris there to where they think they're so intelligent, their stuff's better than what George did. And they're like, well, this is an unreliable narrator, which we can get into, but it makes me feel like, oh, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. And
hmm
so they're going to triple down on this, and we might get a very lackluster season four and ending to this, which I do worry about.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a good comparison in my head that I'm thinking of too when you say that. Like the difference was, I think, in Game of Thrones season 8, or at least towards the end, it was kind of like the Titanic slowly sinking over the course of an evening,
Yeah.
whereas like this season's starting to feel more like the Hindenburg getting caught on fire and about ready to crash. You know what I mean? Like you can
Yeah.
kind of almost just kind of see it, and you know it's going to happen, and something's just going to go like fuck. Like it started out so strong in general. So I mean, I guess with that too, so let's start here. Let's go with like what are some of the things that you liked about the season? What are some of the pros? Let's bounce a couple of those things back and forth.
This, even if they don't have a lot to do, the acting is top notch. Emma
Yeah,
Darcy, like, I didn't like her speech that she delivered. I thought she was talking a bunch of nonsense, but she said it with such
yeah,
conviction.
yeah. You believed
Like,
it.
it's good. No matter what, even if it's something small that you give her, she's excellent. You're
hmm
supposed to dislike Damon, but Matt Smith is so charismatic,
Man,
and he's that charming devil. And then Aegon pops up out of nowhere, and he's doing the same thing. You're like, this guy's a piece of trash, but I'm rooting for him now
hey,
because
hey,
the
wait, wait,
acting
wait,
is
wait.
so well
I'm
done.
alive.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Right, right.
So, I think the acting was really well done. I love
Yeah.
how they've taken their time with the dragons, and um they make them so different, whether the way
hmm
they sound, the way they look, you can kind of
Yeah.
identify which dragon's which right off the bat. The battles, the fight scenes, the spectacle of it is amazing. I feel like the sets, the costume designs, the production is top notch. So it is a very quality. It's a well made show, and it shows. I just think the chink in the armor is the crack in the armor. It's the writing is and the
hmm
direction that they're going with it. And they can no longer use that. Well, that book was an unreliable narrator because they have move things around in the timeline. They have omitted storylines. They have omitted characters. They've changed what certain characters have done and given that responsibility or that action to a different character. And some of the things that they have created, like with Viserys and the relationship between Rhaenyra, at least the initial relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent has been really good. And some of the other
hmm
things, but then I feel like season two and season three have shown more bad decisions than good.
hmm Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, I think we definitely agree on a lot of those pros. Yeah, standout for me is always going to be the acting. If you One thing for certain is that when an HBO has a show and they've got people in, they're committed, they act really well, and Game of Thrones always is consistent with that. Yeah, Matt Smith is Daemon Targaryen. I mean, like, I want, I, and this will come into my cons here in a moment, but like, I wanted more from Rhaenyra because Darcy is such a good actress. Like, she
Yeah.
is like, but it's not her fault. She's dealing with some awful fucking writing. I feel like for her
Yeah.
character specifically. Damon's been great. I'm a dragon nut. Like I just love dragons in general. That's even before Game of Thrones and wanting to be a Targaryen fan. Like I'm just a dragon guy. So like you said,
Yeah.
like the diversity of the dragons, seeing all the dragons, they're all so different, unique. Like I have this massive love for Sheep Stealer. I don't know what it is. He just is this. He's like the face of only a mother could love. He's just doing his thing. He's like trying,
Yeah.
just something
He's
about
he's a
that
black
dragon.
sheep. He's the outsider.
Yeah, yeah, I love that about him, and stuff like that too. And so yeah, that's great. And Caraxus is just cool because it's Damon's fucking mount, and he's like
Yeah.
their bond is so insanely deep. Like
So good.
it's like honestly the only other bond that they've showcased as well to me was Daenerys with like Drogon. Yeah, honestly, like
Yeah.
and then even then it's not even as much as her or him and Caraxus. Like it's incredible. But yeah, the fight scenes, I don't usually like the Starks so much anyways, but the crazy old man and that actor
He's great.
just dude, he just nailed. What's his name? Do you know what's his real
I
name?
can't remember his name, but
I
in
can't think his name
everything
is.
he's in,
Yeah.
everyone keeps calling him Chibs from Sons of Anarchy, but he's been in
Yeah,
so
he's
many
cause from
great
yeah,
things,
he's been in so
and
much
he's
stuff.
excellent. He's excellent in
Dude,
everything he
he
does.
is so good in that, so gnarly. Even towards the end of his demise, like he goes out like a champ. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so that was good. Hey, what's happening, Brian? Good to see you. Appreciate you, buddy. Um, but yeah, overall, I think that's a lot of my favorite stuff about it. There's been some kind of side characters or smaller conversations and stuff that I think like with some of the high towers. Am I saying that? Yeah, it's high towers, right?
Mhm.
There's been some interesting stuff in there too, but like the problem is like outside one or two characters, they're just not. I don't know if it's not the writing's really good. I just don't give a shit. Like because I feel like a lot of that stuff, and you've kind of confirmed this, a lot of that high tower stuff really wasn't as prevalent in the books. It was more about like fighting for that throne or whatever it was. So some of that stuff just feels like it's just there to be there, and I don't
Yes.
really dig that as much, I guess. Honestly, the fight, the big battle at that little keep, it reminded me, I think, the most of, I want to say like Beastmaster. Wasn't there a big battle at the end of Beastmaster?
Oh, it's been
Um,
so long. I don't remember.
it just reminded me of that battle, or like Army of Darkness when they're all attacking and stuff like that. It just felt like, while it was cool in scope, it felt like also kind of underwhelming, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
just did, like running up a hill, some fire, climbing up like it just wasn't as much. So, but anyway, so as far as pros, that's some of my favorite things about it is again just some of the great acting from some of the main characters, and Daemon fucking Targaryen, bro, like
Yes.
all day, a character you're not supposed to like. So, we've already kind of dipped into it, but we'll spin right away. Like what are some of the big cons? Because some of these we're gonna dive a little deeper into, I know too.
So the book is written by, and I just got into it, and I think the book's amazing. But the book is written, they say it's from like a maester's perspective and one's from a jester's perspective. So they'll say so and so has died, but they don't know how he died. He could have died this way, but then so and so says he died that way. So the
Mm.
showrunners have tried to say, well, it's an
Lazy
unreliable
writing.
narrative.
Oh, sorry, I just coughed. Sorry, sorry. I'm kidding.
But
I'm
the
kidding.
problem is, it's not an unreliable narrator because they've completely changed things. And
Hmm.
like I've said, they've changed some things for the better, like Viserys' story, Aegon's story. It's more fleshed out.
Yeah.
In the books, Alicent and Rhaenyra are not friends. It's a mother-stepdaughter relationship. But I think that might be where some of it ends because Alicent doesn't, after King's Landing is sacked and Rhaenyra takes over, Alicent doesn't have too much to do. So some of these characters, they've given her, like in season one, if you ever noticed, she really knew how to play the Game of Thrones. And she was all about her kids getting on the throne. And she loved her kids, right? And she wanted them to go
Hmm.
somewhere. And then out of the blue, she's like, oh, well, everyone's conspiring against me to get my kids on the throne. It's like, no, that's what you wanted to do. And they
Hmm.
totally flip the switch and they try to make it all about Rhaenyra. And she's a horrible person. She wants to kill her kids. And then when she's wanting to get, I was like, you help raise your kids. They're that way because of you. And now you want to kill them? I just think that, and that's very frowned upon in the world of Ice and Fire, the kinslaying. And then she wants to, the time she was trying to escape with Helena, or she was going to leave the grandbaby. She lies to Helena. And so there's a lot of stuff like that to where they make these decisions where it's making a lot of characters, especially Rhaenyra, come across dumb and incompetent. You can make Rhaenyra unfit to rule, but you don't have to make her look foolish.
Right.
Because it's literally, there's that meme of her, all she does is either cry,
Hmm.
ask others that she shouldn't be trusting, what should I do? What would you have me do? Or yelling at Damon. And it's like, she's not a good ruler. She's not even a good leader. she's impulsive. They try to say she's like, oh, she's Rhaenyra the cruel. She hasn't done anything cruel. If you they compare her to Maegor, if you see what Maegor does in the I think it's Maegor. If you see what he does in the books, he's cruel. He's not mad. He's cruel. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not a mad king. It's not the mad Targaryen stuff. So what they try to double down on that. It's not that. He's a cruel individual. And that's what she's supposed to be because they call her in the books Maegor with tits. But she's not really cruel. She's very incompetent. She acts like a spoiled brat more than anything.
Mm.
And then in this last episode is like she quickly flips the switch. And they were kind of teasing like she was
Yeah,
going
took
to.
all season for her to actually grow like some like
Yeah, and it's
personality, some I don't know. Some,
and they do a lot of stuff with certain characters where it's
uh,
very forced. Like Alan, all of a sudden now he was one of the most righteous characters in the show, and all of a sudden he kills the Sept because Rhaenyra whispers in his ear, "Oh, do you want to be like you're the Targaryen? Don't let him talk to you
yeah, he
like
didn't
that."
even question it. He's so worried about his like where he's gonna be in his bloodline, and like
But that really came out of nowhere. And then they forced a lot of
yeah,
love triangles. They are so trying to make Massaria a thing, and she is like the most annoying character in the show. You're supposed to be a master of whispers, can't solve shit. Varys would have had that shit solved in a day. But they do a lot of things to where they need to instead of concentrating on important things like certain characters, they want to make Alicent still an important character when she's not really, because at this time in the book she doesn't have a lot of stuff. So they give her these weird side missions that and it makes no sense what she's doing. And then they'll have the weird storyline with the gold cloaks where it kind of goes nowhere. Yeah, we already knew Ormond was doing stuff and sabotaging, but it never really went anywhere. They were just dead, and that was it. And that's what he discovers. And then the guy's like, "There's more of us. She'll never get rid of us." But that never goes anywhere. Harrenhal again, season two, another character's in Harrenhal, dicking around, just wasting time, and
right.
it's and then Aegon, you could be doing a lot more with him, but you're spending time on Alice Rivers and Massaria, and you're giving Alicent these weird subplots, and it's like none of that matters to the main story. Where you could be building up Aemon more, you could be building an Aegon more. You could do more with the relationship between Daemon and Rhaenyra. You
Building
could,
Rhaenyra better, you know.
exactly, but there's like, I don't. They can't use that excuse as the unreliable narrator anymore, and they've abused it and stretched it too thin. And now they're at that point, which I agree with George R. R. Martin, where he says you get certain producers, showrunners, writers, they think they know better than the creator, and they start making decisions on their own, and it's not good. And I really feel like that's what we're seeing, and it's starting to show, and it really reminds me of season 8,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that because I remember like halfway through the season. Because if we look back at season one, let's start there, right? House of Dragon.
Yes.
Before this is before I jump into my cons and where I'm going with this. Like that first season, I remember me and you after every episode going, Jesus, the writing in this is like this is incredible. And by the time we were done with that whole entire season, we're like, that was like an awesome season of Game of Thrones. Like if you hadn't been into House of the Dragon yet, or let's say you had stepped away from Game of Thrones and were weary, that was a great season to say, okay, let's draw you back in. I was
Yeah.
hooked
It returned
instantly.
form. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it felt like it. Then you get to season two, and like I feel like Rhaenyra was still a better character in that when she was on Dragonstone.
Mm-hmm.
She was trying to put together a lot of pieces and form. Like she felt more commanding. She felt more like she was involved in like making some decisions, and they were, she had her people around her, her council and stuff like that. Um, so it still felt a lot of good. And then of course, like you said, like I know the Hightower stuff wasn't in the books, but at least in season two, it felt like a lot of it, like it was more than it needed to be, but it felt like it at least was written pretty all right. Like it wasn't too bad. They were trying to figure out what they're doing, who's going on the throne, the in-house stuff, like, and whatnot too. And then you start getting into some of the battles, and you lose some really awesome characters. The princess that was probably what was her? Gosh, what was her name?
Ladies.
God, and that actress is so good
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, she was
Um,
good. The Hightower stuff is in the book, but it's not as like
right. So it's
what
Fleur
is
fleshed out, right? Or
yeah, and it's still more focused on the Targaryen Civil War instead of Because there's one point there, Kristen Cole, when they're in battle, and he yells the Hightower battle cry, but I guess that's like not even in the book, and they're like trying to make that more Hightower versus Targaryen when it isn't
Mm-hmm.
really that. It's the Targaryens versus Targaryen.
So it's kind of like how Joffrey never wore like Baratheon emblems, but it was always like Lannister, that sort of thing.
I think so,
Like
yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a really great analogy, but either way, I digress. The point is that by the time you get to season 3, like I thought it started out pretty good, and the end of season 2 was like Jesus, there was a lot going on there, and
Yeah.
then never fully like even with Aemon, like what's he been doing? Spinning wheels? Like I like that's a character that's really intriguing. He's got the biggest, oldest dragon, right? Like, isn't
Yeah.
Vagar? Like, you got this and that. Like, where the shit has he been? And it's like,
How does he even
where do you
hide?
hide? Where do you literally hide a semi truck? How do you hide a
Yeah.
semi truck from
I think
everybody?
he's even bigger than a semi truck. He's like
I know.
gigantic.
I'm just saying, like I'm saying, like who would stick out like a sore thumb in Westeros if you were a semi truck? So would this massive old dragon. Like where's he at? So I feel like some of the side stuff with these characters, like clearly he's a fan favorite. Like focus a little bit more on him. Let's see what he's doing as well too.
And he flip flops so quickly. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah, it's
was he
so
was
weird.
all
Yeah,
about being king. He was all about being the man. And the next thing you
mommy
know, he's
issues. Oh my
like, what?
god,
That's
mommy issues.
forced. That was
Yeah,
not in the book.
yeah,
I
I
don't even
know.
know why they put that in the show.
It just
I
flipped out of
mean, weird.
nowhere. Like what the
Yeah,
fuck? Like and that's part of the problem here, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Long story here is that
yeah,
the biggest con for me in this series is that the middle tanked really bad because it felt like you didn't know where the story was going. It felt like a bottleneck, and overall, it just feels like the writing of like some of your main characters, the Rhaenyras, the Alicents, even though she wasn't prominent, maybe at this point as much in the books, like they just felt so poorly written. Like Rhaenyra was coming off as this really strong, um, very present kind of ruler, whether good or bad. And by the time you get to the last episode is when she finally kind of comes more true to form, or really stands up. She was written so poorly. Like I was losing like interest. I'm like, why is these characters like she is not a dumb character nor person in this series.
no,
Why are they making her like that? Like making dumb decisions. Like she was. It was like they're leaning into like so much emotional shit more than like how that character would react in situations, and it was kind of off putting sometimes. And boy, like by the time I got to the end of the season, I started talking with you too, and we were pretty much at the point like, listen, we're enjoying this,
yeah.
but there's definitely a lot of things going on with it that we take issue with, like this hair or something in my eyes drive me fucking nuts.
It's awesome.
Um, I'm
Yeah.
over here, got my fist in my fucking skull, just trying to get it out. Um, but it's really unfortunate. To see how it goes here. Oh, here we go. We got some comments out here too. So, sorry, I'm trying to. I can't see right now because of my eye. Are you team green or team black? Definitely team black. Definitely team black. Yeah, definitely team black. Eamon's
I
supposed
was
to see his
team
hair in
team.
Hall.
I
Unfortunately for
was
him, he was
team
stuck
black, but
because
now I
yeah.
find myself rooting for Aegon more because
I'm alive.
they've made Rhaenyra so
Right.
dumb, and I was all about her getting her throne and all that, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of weird writing decisions that are very bad. Like
That's the point. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of that. Like it doesn't feel from season 1 to season 3 does not feel like the same caliber of writing to
but I
me.
think it's because they were dealing more with the book in a sense, and they obviously added their own spin to certain things, but
Hmm.
somewhere along the way they kind of lost the plot, so to speak,
Yeah,
and
and
I don't know why.
Jesus, it's what George says, which is ironic coming from him since he's been so good at being a lazy shit to not finish the last book he's been trying to do. So like I take
That's never gonna
everything
be
now
good.
at this point with a grain of salt. It's an irony because
Yeah,
of all people, dude,
yeah,
really, you couldn't
yeah.
finish these books so they could. He wants to blame DB and Dan for the end of 8. We want to target anybody at this point. Was it their fault? Did they really have it? I still think that they wanted to rush through it because they were over it.
And they wanted to do that Star Wars project too, and then they got
Yeah,
let go.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I still say that like even as a big Targaryen and a big Daenerys fan, it was never that I felt that she had to always remain the hero to the end of that series. It's just that they forced it out of nowhere, a light switch again, that
Yeah.
there was no build up to that story. They should have had another season if they wanted her to turn to be like a normal Targaryen for it to make sense, because the
Mhm.
rest of the time they're building her up as a hero. You
They
wanted to flip
honestly
like
did.
that? That's fine, but build the character towards that.
Yeah, and Jon Snow became so useless by the end. I was just like, I
Yeah,
didn't understand. I was like, what are we doing here?
yeah,
And
they
you
literally
built,
wrote them into paradoxes. They didn't know what they were
yeah,
doing.
and the same thing with the Night King. It's like oh, well, we subverted expectations. Yeah, that doesn't mean it's good. Like
Right.
you built up this whole battle between him and the Night King. You have all these interactions, and you're building it up like it's going to be a main event fight. And then out of nowhere, Arya kills him. Like, why? She didn't need that. She
Yeah,
didn't need that. She didn't need. We don't need to make her the Terminator. Sure, he went through and killed all the Freys. And I
yeah.
just thought, yeah, I'm not going to get into that season, but I just there was things I liked, but most of it I just didn't like. And I kind of do blame D&D because HBO said, hey, you can get two more. I think two more seasons or another. I think they wanted 10 seasons, and they said no. Then they
Yeah.
wanted the eight. They were going to
Can
end it.
you could you imagine? Because even then, like I'm fine with Arya getting that win, but it came again so fast and out of nowhere. There was no like after that last was
To
it
me, it's
season
not. It
7?
wasn't earned. It wasn't earned at all.
Watching the wall fall and thinking we're gonna get this massive like drawn out battle, and what was it, 3 or 4 episodes? You mean to tell me for thousands of years people have been waiting for the longest darkest night or whatever, and we get 3 or 4 fucking episodes instead of an entire season of that fight?
Well, it was
What the
definitely the darkest
fuck?
episode because I couldn't see shit half the time.
I
And
remember
that
that being the
episode was
bit.
filled with
Yeah, I
plot.
remember that being a bit too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And that
remember
episode
that.
was
That's
filled with
funny.
plot armor. It was just
That
so
season.
many. Yeah, I don't know. I was not a fan.
That
Not a,
season.
unfortunately, I was
I
not a
hate it.
fan of that. And
No, no, and I know we could complain. Like I said, someday, everybody, someday in the ether, we're gonna
yeah,
have that full Game of Thrones conversation. Like I said, I know Chance wants to get involved as well too. We'll get 3 or 4 of us in here, and we'll just fucking pound that into non-existence, like it almost was on its own, because it just, again, after it was done, everybody went from being like owning all their Game of Thrones stuff to like hiding it under uh, couches and shit because nobody wanted to talk about it anymore because it's such a disappointment for literally everybody.
I
Um,
feel like that with season four, though. That's my biggest fear is that at least book
yeah,
wise, and they obviously they've gone far from the book, but there's like a lot of stuff that's supposed to happen. There's some very big battles. I know one battle they had to save because there was supposed to be this one battle between these two characters that was supposed to happen already,
yeah.
but they didn't do that because they obviously they didn't want them gone from the show this early. So they saved that. They're saving that to that's probably gonna be one of the last battles. But there's supposed to be a lot of stuff covered. And there's certain characters that are supposed to be very important that they did not spend time with. And Daron was one of them. And they really kind of just farted around with him this season where you could have took Masaria's screen time. She or we didn't the whole thing with Alice Rivers, her being a cursed witch and all that, that's all them. That's not in the books. There's obviously something with her, but I'm pretty sure that's not who she is in the books. I think that's from the show.
Didn't they mix a character or two with her or something too? They said, I thought
No, they
maybe.
mixed not Bela, but Reyna and Nettles. Reyna, the whole point of Reyna was supposed to be just obviously Damon's kid, and Damon in the books is an actual loving father. He loves his kids, and I think he was a decent husband. I don't think he was terrible, and I could be wrong, but I haven't got that far. But there was a character that was supposed to be Nettles, and Nettles is not of any Targaryen blood, not of Valerian blood, but she tames Sheep Stealer. And that, when Damon meets her, it changes his view because obviously his whole view is we're the chosen ones, we are the chosen blood, we control the dragons, we're like gods. But then he meets her and she's just like some common born. And he's like, how did you tame this dragon? And so they have like interactions the whole time. So it kind of changes his worldview on maybe they're
Huh.
not like the thing, but they took all that out and they mixed those characters, which I guess it's here nor there. But
Mm.
yeah, there's just weird stuff. And there's something like again, this is what I mean by bad writing. In the show, when Rhaenyra and Daemon storm King's Landing, it's only those two that go into. They can't take their dragons with them because they don't want to destroy King's Landing. It's only those two that have to go into the castle, and so you have like this like 20v2, right? And she can't fight, so it's like 20v1. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what's this? Why would they be that dumb to think they could just waltz into the castle, fight all these people? In the book where I'm at now, there's a Aegon. He's another Aegon, but the son of he's the grandson of Aegon the Conqueror. They don't. Him and his sister don't try to take King's Landing. They sneak in and grab their dragons from their brother Makor or Magor. I keep saying Makor or Magor, and I could be confusing Melkor
I was
from
gonna say I think you're
the
confusing Melkor.
Silmarillion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
think it is Magor. But they don't take the throne because they don't have enough people to fight. So when they make them go in there, I was like, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, Damon is the one that reaches out to the Kingsguard because he used to lead them,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the one that's like, hey, when we get into the castle, make sure you come help us out. That's why they go into the castle because he knows that they're going to be there to save their ass. When they go on the show, they're just doing it, and it's like a dumb decision, and they just hope that they're going to save their ass. And they made Allison be the one to do that, so it didn't really make any sense if you step back and look at it. And then also with
Yeah, I always
Jake,
felt that. I did feel like that was kind of weird. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yes,
yeah.
but
It's
there's a
interesting
lot of
now.
small things you really have to stop and look. When you stop and
Mm-hmm.
look, you're like, that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
And then they do the whole thing with the characters teleporting all over the globe, which doesn't make any sense. But there's a thing too with Jace. Jace in the book, the two kids that were supposed to get sent off, Rhaenyra's kids, get kidnapped by the pirates. And Jace, the only reason he flies low with the dragon is because he's looking for them. And then what happens, that's when his dragon gets hit. It's only because he's flying low. Normally the dragons fly high because they're dragons. They don't need to fly low. And that's why they're so dominant because nobody can fuck with them. Um, but they make him fly low in the show for no reason. And that's why he gets hit. But in the book, he's flying low because he's looking for his brothers. So there's small things that make it make
Man.
sense. And you're just, but there's a lot of other things too where the writing's just very
Hey,
silly,
Brett.
and some of the characters, their changes and their turns are forced if you really look at it. And I still enjoy the show, but like my brain's like, did you catch that? And I'm like, oh, I did catch that. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
ah,
yeah,
what are you doing? I'm like, so
yeah. There was a couple of nights when like I can't always watch on Sunday nights because Love Island is on in the middle of the summer. Anyways, and which by the way is an internet bit about watching Love Island and immediately watching House of Dragons. You see all that stuff in the middle of the summer going on. Like I've
no,
got like the it's
love
like I've got
Brandon.
two personalities. I'm sitting there drinking like
It's like
shirtless around a party and trying to
Barbie
meet
Hunters.
people. Right, exactly. It's exactly the bit they were kind of doing. Then, like all of a sudden, like when it's time for House of Dragons, that's done. You're turning into Daemon Targaryen and stabbing stuff. It's just really funny. That was literally me all summer. But, yeah. So, uh, I have no idea where I was going with that. Wait, let me back up for a minute. Oh, so there was a couple. I got so distracted. There was a couple times where I wouldn't watch till Monday night or whatever, and if I did watch it Sunday night, I remember, and because I remember we would talk, and I would feel like that episode really was just not great. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't bad, but it wasn't like I'm sorry, like I hate to keep saying this and bringing this back up, and even for some because season 2 wasn't perfect,
right.
but season 1 was so damn good of House of the Dragon, like
Yes.
that bar had been set. So like anything further after that, I know is never going to hit that mark. But I felt like the writing never really tried that much in this season. I feel like it did sometimes in season 2. There was an episode or whatever episode it was, probably the second to last or whatever of this season, and because I love dragons so much, it was one of my favorite moments in the whole season. But it made me sad because I love Sheep Stealer. But like you get like 5 dragons on the ground at once, 4 or 5 of them,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and they're all like getting mad at each other. I'm like, like that's what I want. That's that spectacle thing right on. I'm
That's
drawn to
spectacle.
spectacle
Yeah.
big time,
Me too.
and I
Me
was
too. Yeah.
way into that, way into that. So it was like a great moment, and actually that episode wasn't too bad compared to the one the week prior. But like, it's so here and there for so much of this last season, and then overall you just say, you know what, the writing's not really that great, and some of these awesome characters that should be really awesome, like Rhaenyra, or at least more like she should be, is
Hmm.
not getting that love, and it kind of sucks because, like you said, before. Darcy, she's a great actress.
Yes.
You know, so
Look at the
no, it's
council meetings. Compare the council meetings in this show to early Game of Thrones. The council
yeah.
meetings in House of the Dragon are the same thing. A lot of times, that's where the political intrigue and the machinations are supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They've been the same thing. Wayland Manderley, he's the comedic role. Next thing you know, Damon gets mad at him. Grey Arrow doesn't know what to do because there's too much going on. Massaria is trying to be the diplomatic, like, but let me tell you this about the people, and like her accent goes all over the place, and it's just like if you watch from season 2 to season 3, the council meetings between them, it's the same thing. There's no political intrigue, and that intelligent writing isn't there. But I think again, it just goes to how you view it. Do you turn your brain off? You just want the spectacle, and
Right.
you get into the characters. For me, it's like watching Lanterns last night or Andor. A lot of people don't like that, right? Because it's that slow burn, but it's like that really smart writing where they're letting things cook a little bit and they're letting things
Yeah.
simmer before they turn the heat up, and they're
Right.
letting you get into the world, and everything feels like it's slow, yes, but it's smart. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how the original Game of Thrones was. It had that high fantasy that would suck you in, and then
Mm-hmm.
they hit you with the political, like, and it was political machinations for the longest time. And it was some devious stuff that was going on. And I feel like no one in this show knows how to play the Game of Thrones. And I feel like they're just all idiots. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not because of the characters. I just feel like it's the writing that is making them feel like they're idiots. And that goes to, like you said, season 1 did such a good job. And I feel like they're relying more on spectacle and over substance. And I also think they think they're doing a good job. If you ever listen to them talk, I think they're actually like, yeah, we're
Right.
we're great. And
Right.
even like Ryan Condal, the guy's like, well, I don't understand why people are doing this, that, and the other. It's like, bro, that's how you wrote it. That's how you're writing it. And so
Yeah.
people, they see that, and more people are like, yeah, this is some of that writing's really bad. And it sucks because I am enjoying the show, but I do go into it with reservations now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to really kind of pull back my expectations in order
Right.
to enjoy the spectacle parts of it.
Right. And that's the funny part about, like, a lot of times you and me, and probably more you sometimes even me, because I always admit, like, I know I like this much more than you guys because I really got into the spectacle and it kind of tugs me this way. I know who
Hmm.
I am, right? But I also know that, like, I love, like, slow burns and stuff. Like, like I said, there's a lot of things that I watch that I feel like a lot of people just don't like because it's too boring or whatever, and I'm
Hmm.
all like into that. Like I said, I want things to cook, right? um but this series has just gone all over the place to where it's like we still enjoyed everybody. That's the point. Like he just said, we still
Yeah.
enjoyed the season. We found enjoyment in it, but like it's definitely far from what I would call, like, it's definitely not great. And I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm not saying it's like really good. It's hitting. There was a lot of okays in here, and even some that might borderline real meh. You know what I mean? Like if I in my head I see this cartoon scale right now, but I just like I said, I just expected and wanted more because after not having Game of Thrones for so long and not being what it was when it comes to the original series, getting hooked into the season 1 of this and being really excited about it too. And I get excited about a lot of HBO, shows typically, and to get to this point, it's just like, man, like I've been through this before. I
Yeah.
invested a lot of time into the last one, and it fucking broke my heart. Like, and a lot of us felt that way because what you got to understand, because that cultural phenomenon wasn't just about the spectacle and the cultural phenomenon. Everybody was talking about it. Even people who don't watch that shit, high
Hmm.
fantasy, medieval, was watching Game of Thrones.
Yes.
There was how often can you stop and say that people were having Game of Thrones parties? Like, who does that these days with shows, right? But I can tell you that Game of
With
Thrones,
fantasy on top of
we
that.
were yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like the closest thing we had to like a massive Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy thing, or I guess maybe even kind of Harry Potter in some way. I think, you
Yeah.
know, um, that we had that just all of a sudden like everybody was shocked by how that ended, and there's very few people out there that can defend it, and the few that do, I think they just got sucked maybe more into the spectacle. But I think everybody that last couple episodes was just confused about the direction of it, So I think it's just that we love this so much and we want to see the best of it. So we've put a lot. I mean, especially you've dove. I mean, there's a lot of times we're talking about stuff and you're talking about like fucking family trees and shit. I'm like, it's like talking to you with the Silmarillion too. Like you
Ooh, I love
sometimes
that.
go, yeah, I know. Sometimes you go so deep into it. And I'm like, bro, I can't keep up, but fuck, I'm here for it, right? I just wanted more. So
Yeah,
shame, yeah, shame. Right?
yeah, shame. And it's like look at I have two more examples and then I'll be off again because I do love the show and it's like you said when you're invested. That's why I got so disappointed when I watched the Star Wars sequels because I love what Star Wars was. I grew up with it, and I was attached to certain characters. When I saw certain things, I was like, "Oh man!" It like really kicked just the kicked the balls, man. Kicked me right in the nuts, and I was just like, "Oh!" I was so excited for this, and I'm like, I don't even know how to process this. Like, I know I
Right.
don't like it, and I was trying to like it. I was trying to force myself, and I did that with Game of Thrones. I was like, well, maybe if I watch it again, I'll like it more. And I was like, I don't, but I watch things like watch how they grieve or don't. The only scene where I saw someone grieve was when Jace died, and Emma Darcy killed it. Jace, what did you do? And I was like, this is awesome. But like,
Oh, she went up to his bot. Yeah, dude,
yes, but
that was
like
so good.
when Otto Hightower gets killed, the way they end it, and then the next episode, it's like nothing happened. There was no consequences. When Helena's story is supposed to be way more tragic, and I have an issue with that. I know people are like, well, she was depressed, and you never know how people are going to be when they're depressed. She gets, the reason why I am upset with it is because throughout the whole time in season three, it's all about her kids, her unborn child. I'm not leaving without my kids. And then she gets a couple weird dreams. Masari talks shit to her in front of guards, the Queen's guards, which doesn't make any sense. And then she gets force fed and she's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. It's like, no, you just stood on 10 toes down about, I'm not going anywhere without my kids. Told your mother, like, I'm not drinking that shit. I'm not eating that shit. We're getting my kids, right? And then you're just like, oh, I'm going to jump up this window. It's like, I know what you wanted to do, but you didn't earn that, in my opinion. In the book, she does have her kid and she sends her kid off to go to escape, and the kid gets killed because it gets caught by the mob. And so that's another child that dies. Also, in the cheese and was it the wine and cheese or whatever, that instance, she has to choose which kid, but her kids are awake. And so they're like, oh, you want us to kill that one? Oh, but we're going to kill this one instead. So they kill the one that she didn't choose, and the one that she did choose is alive and lives with that. So there's a lot more meat in that stew that causes her, and the grief is just it's not there. Jace, in the timeline, he probably died a month ago,
Damn, that's
and
wild.
Bela's already trying to talk to other people. It's like, are we not grieving? We don't grieve on that show, and so there's like little things like that to where
Yeah, that's a really
you
good
can
point.
and
Yeah.
you can spend more time with the certain character development, and those are big deaths and we just glaze over them. Otto Hightower, that's her dad. We just glaze over that.
Yeah, he was such a major player all the way until he got arrested or whatever happened. It's just like he's the man in the iron mask and no one cares anymore. You
Yeah,
know?
and it's like he was such, like you said, such a major player, and then we show him, and then he's gone, and then Allison's still like, "Oh, Rhaenyra, I pledge my allegiance to." It's just like there's certain things, and it's just when you step back and you look at it, and I don't want to yuck anybody's yum because if you enjoy it, that's awesome. But this is why I get frustrated with it and this is why I fear for season four. It's because I see these things and I can't let them. I can't just ignore them because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you guys have in the past you have done better. Why
Mm-hmm.
aren't you doing that now? And I guess that's what I don't understand. What
And
happened?
I almost kind of wonder if maybe that's why they've said, because that's what's happened now, is they've said season 4 is the last. Maybe they can kind of read the tea leaves. They don't want to say it out loud. Maybe the HBO execs going, yeah, we're looking at some of these ratings and the feedback and where the story. Maybe they're like, yeah, this story kind of sucks, guys. What are you doing? Maybe that's why. Maybe they're like, okay, guys, you're gonna have to wrap
Uh,
it up because you've wasted too much money and too much time. We're not looking to invest that anymore because, honestly, like season 2 still felt like there was meat on the bone, whereas this season has just felt like you're picking for fucking meat off of it. And there's not a lot of direction, like you said, for characters. Like you said, Helena. Like I didn't know that about her. That's a pretty fucking diverse background for a character who did actually get some pretty decent screen time for a character that doesn't feel like it's a main character, but they wanted to highlight so much. Like it's almost like they didn't even need her around at that point. Then why you even just have her around? Like you didn't need her. You got Allison around doing weird shit that doesn't make any sense. Like
And
she just
Helena
became this
and
dumb,
Dreamfire
like
are connected in the
googly
book.
eyed.
They're deep in the books. Her and the dragon. But then in this,
Yeah,
she's like, "Well, I don't like to ride my dragon." It's like, no, in the books, they're like they have a connection too.
that's Dreamfire.
Yeah, the one
Is
they
that
show
the?
in the vision when she's riding it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
beautiful dragon we've never gotten to see
never got to
except in a
see.
vision.
And that
That's
dragon has some really deep history in the lore of Game of Thrones as well.
yeah. So like it's so dumb to me like how that boggles my mind too. We're not even like getting the good stuff that could be like not only just for good story, but can also appease the spectacle people too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's just it's perplexing that direction. So I think, and this is a good way to kind of try and and bring it home when you've done a great job already, kind of like I think leading us there is that there's worry for us already for what season 4 is going to look like, right? Like we've seen the last big Game of Thrones series that we were invested in, how that ended, and now knowing what we know now, like I said, I do feel like it's kind of like comparing the Titanic to the Hindenburg at this point, like like how much of a mess is this last season gonna be, right? Like, what is that gonna look like, and how? Because they've already had to tie in the Prince that was promised, and they already had to do. They gotta.
oh,
I know. Member
and the
this?
dagger,
Member
and the
berries?
dagger.
Petridge Farms are members. Here's
Yeah,
remember this dagger. Member. Do you remember the Nut Long Night? Jesus fucking Christ. We get it, dude. We totally get it. We
yeah,
fucking get it. We
yeah.
fucking get it. But it's not gonna save the fucking last season after 7 awesome seasons of your fucking show that you ruined. So it's not
Look at
going to
she's
save it.
going mad. She's going mad.
Oh
See,
yeah, right,
she's
right,
going
right. She
mad.
gives one
Like,
fucking speech in one season. And she's,
yeah. No, she's
now
not mad. She's
she's
cruel. It's like,
right, right. There's a difference. There's a big difference there. And yeah. So season 4 is definitely something that to be concerned about because like I gotta wonder, and I don't know if you've done any reading. Like, what are like, have you seen any of the ratings on this season or any feedback or there? I feel like there hasn't been a lot. Like, I feel like again, and I hate to keep saying this, I feel like season 1 had a ton of buzz. Season 2, I feel like still had some. There was murmurs, but I feel like this season,
it's
I don't know.
hard.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen or heard shit much.
It's hard because it depends on nowadays. Your algorithm is based off what you look at. So I'll see tons of stuff about House of the Dragon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's probably because that's my algorithm. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I don't know. I haven't heard much about the ratings. I guess I'll have to look into that and see because I thought
Yeah.
season 2 had a big drop, and I don't know if season 3 came back. I could see season 3 getting higher because Duncan Egg was so good, and so we have that to look forward to as well. And I don't think they're going to wait 2 years for that. I think that's coming up next year.
I think
And
yeah they had to delay filming, but I think they jumped on that fast. That's how good it won.
well, that and also that kid, you can only do so much. He's going to be growing up quickly, so you're gonna want to get him as cute as possible while you can. You know.
Are you ready for me to read this? Get ready. Are you ready?
Yep.
Season 3 of House of the Dragon averaged roughly 34 million global viewers per episode, with the August 9th finale drawing 21 million multi platform in 3 days. The season holds a strong 91% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. I
Mm.
am flabbergasted by that. And I honestly hate to say it, and I got to think, and maybe this is Grandpa being curmudgeon on the porch, that is people who are just tied into the spectacle and care little for how diverse and deep that story is.
I
Because,
think it's a little bit of that, and I think it's a little bit of culture war stuff. If you've ever seen Sarah Hess's comments on things, and that kind of that circulates in the fan
yeah, because when you
conversation.
start when you start picking
You
sides,
know,
it starts becoming about loyalty, and no, and then you can't. At
Yeah.
that point, you have no ability to give constructive criticism on things that you like, and it's like that with our politics and
Yeah.
everything. It
Yeah.
becomes you're either this way or that, and you can't question the your loyalty to whatever side you choose, and it's sickening because that's not how it's supposed to work. When it comes to media,
Especially if
you
you're a
can
critic.
enjoy it, you can say it's great, you can
Yeah.
say left, right, this, that, and the other, but you still should be able to constructively criticize it if it isn't good, if it's bad, or if it could be better, because nothing then at that point does get better.
Did they say it was that higher than season two or was that lower?
I don't know. I already didn't want to see anymore.
Well,
Let
that's
me
fine. I can
see.
look it up though.
I mean, 91% overall rating for it is. I don't know how
No, I
you
meant
would.
the views, like the viewership. If
Oh,
that
that
was,
didn't really say
I
on
wonder if the
that. I didn't
viewership.
dive too deep in that, but
Yeah, I
I'm
don't.
I'm
I'm sure
I'm
Game of
I'm
Thrones still brings in some viewers, so it's probably
right.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then I know we're not talking about it fully tonight, but A Night in the Seven Kingdoms was this limited six episode series, and it was absolutely a brilliant piece of television. Like
Short
just completely
episodes too.
short episodes. Unfortunately, it really could have just been like a long movie, but it was a really good series. And when you know the lore, and I do know a little bit of lore on this and who Egg really is, it's actually
Yeah.
quite fascinating to kind of be at that point. So listen, if they want to keep doing side stories and other characters and things in that nature like that, but still be in that world, I'm happy with that. But when you start like, it's kind of like how I feel about Star Wars. Like I'm to the point
Mhm.
now where I don't give a shit, and I know this is controversial. I just don't give a shit about the big galactical stuff and the Jedi, and I haven't for a long time. That's why I liked Mando so much originally, is because it felt like it's like Spider-Man comparing to like the Avengers threat off world, right? Or
Yes.
Fantastic
Street
Four.
level.
Yeah, I like that. Like I like the big stuff, and I want that once in a while. But you get really into that, like like you said, that street level. You get that, what is it, like relatableness more on
Yeah.
those more local kind of things. And there can be bad in that too, and I do recognize that. But I do feel like if they did that and they keep doing that's going to be enjoyable, and that's like where I'm at with Star Wars too. Like I watch the cartoons and some of these other side characters, and it's not doesn't have to
Hmm.
be a Skywalker, doesn't even have to be a lightsaber involved, honestly. And that's more entertaining for me these days, and it's because I feel like that's when you're going to get like that. You can't rely on spectacle anymore. You have to have that good story, like
Yes.
like an Andor or
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. It's hard to say where Game of Thrones is going to go from here. But for me, like, I'm definitely worried about season 4. We clearly both are. But can they keep doing things like Dunk and Egg to draw in a fan base?
You got the Aegon the Conqueror movie that's in the works, and I don't know if you remember, there was a show that got canned. They
Oh, there
filmed the
was a big
pilot.
show.
It was with
Um,
Naomi Watts, and they got canned.
yeah,
And I
that
can't
was
remember what
what
time period that took place in.
what prequel was that? I'm trying to remember too. Yeah, that was a big deal.
And it,
'Cause
apparently, it was so bad, and they went so far off from the original story that they.
yeah,
I don't know if that was the reason why they canned it, but apparently it was like bad, and they canned it.
yeah, I do remember that. I wish I remember. Man, I right there. I feel like I know that fucking time frame because it wasn't far from the original series. I feel like either. Like it
Have you ever?
wasn't far back, was it? I don't think.
It would have had to have been probably. I'm guessing either around the same time as Dunkin' Egg or before, after or
Yeah.
before. But
Well, because
before,
Dunkin' Egg is about what 60, 70 years after right now.
I think 75 years after House of the
After,
Dragon.
yeah, it's a kind of like, but like
The
what,
magic
like
is pretty much
50
gone.
years or something before like the original series, something that like in the middle or
I
something.
think it is because Aemon is an old man. He's was he like 80 years old when he takes the
Yeah,
when he's in the
in the black.
yeah, but I can't remember. I'd have to do that research.
Dude, you ever
Uh,
see the clip where, and one of the things I don't remember from the original series, but it's fun to kind of call back and look at is um, when Joffrey's giving shit to Jamie and he's going through the book and he's like, oh, Sir Duncan, the whatever. He's like, oh, there's like 4 pages here about him. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty neat
yeah,
call out. I
I
thought
do
that was
remember
cool.
that. There's a lot, and he actually spoils the Dance of Dragons. He
Yeah,
talks.
yeah, technically, yeah, technically.
He does, which I forgot, but I know the ending to it anyways. But I'm curious to see if they'll even do that. Well, they probably have to. have to do that ending because that you can't
Well, they
go.
can't change. Yeah, you can't change that because then you're literally retconning something in the future. Or,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Unless they do like that happened, but this was what really happened. Do you ever see that rumor, which I actually thought was a kind of cool rumor, that when Drogon takes um Daenerys away, he takes her to where the Red Priestess is. So they think there's a she could be alive. Maybe she got resurrected by the Red Priestess, and she's off in like Volantis or somewhere like that.
I feel like that's something I've heard in the past, but I also feel like I
That'd be
don't
kind of cool.
remember that. And
Yeah,
that
I
would be
think it's
cool.
just
Be
fan. I think it's just like a fan rumor, but and I
probably.
think actually one of the showrunners says that D&D. One of them says that like, oh, maybe she could be alive. But I'm like, that'd be kind of cool because they do at the end of Game of Thrones. I swear they say, has the dragon been spotted? And they say the last time he was spotted was over like Marine or Volantis or something like that. It's wherever the Red Priestess lives. And so I was like, man, maybe he took her there. That'd be kind of cool. So
It's almost like they're trying to make it feel like that there's some interpretation when there's probably I don't know. Like I don't know
well,
how to
that got
feel about
canceled
that,
too.
but I
Remember that
mean,
got canceled? That was supposed to be a show. Arya, that was rumored Arya was supposed to get a show. And then
yeah.
Jon Snow was supposed to get a show. And the Jon Snow one I thought was going to happen. And then it, for whatever reason, they said, no, we're not doing it. So I don't know what happened there.
That's a great question. And I think it all comes right back to how much people didn't give a shit after season 8.
That's true. That is true because you have a split fan base. And I remember
I
House of the Dragon was not, when it first came out, it did
when it
not
was
get
first announced, yeah, remember?
a lot of
Yeah.
people were like, and then that
Hmm.
season one was fire, and everybody was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, Thrones is
Took
back.
time to get people on board and look where we're at now with the series.
Yeah, but you do have Dunkin' Egg, which is really good, and I do feel like where they could lose half of their fan base if they have a subpar season four, you'll still have the people there that enjoy the spectacle, and I still think you'll have people there that will watch Dunkin' Egg. They just need a strong season two, and then whoever you have doing the Aegon movie has to really, buckle down and because you have the battle, you have him coming over to conquer it, and then you also have the two Dorne battles, which I don't know if they would just make the one movie, but the Dorne battles are it's him conquering. You have all the stuff that happens before,
Uh huh.
the Doom, and then there's two Dorne battles, which are actually kind of cool because it's supposed to be conquers all seven kingdoms, but he actually only conquers six because Dorne never bows.
Right, I was gonna say because Dorn is
They
Dorn. Yeah,
outsmart
yeah,
him. They
yeah,
outsmart him. And he
yeah.
ends up, spoilers, he ends up killing one of his sister wives. So, but it's actually really cool because that's when the first, I think, Scorpion shows up.
Gnarly.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good, man. That one's a good story too, and I would love to see that story. Hopefully they'll do it. Hopefully they do it right.
I just think that the Greyjoys need more love. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'll stop. I love the Greyjoys. They're
Dude, you're not
weird.
wrong. There's a lot of cool stories with the Greyjoys. There's so many, dude. Like I will say this one other thing before I know we gotta wrap it up. One thing that I love, and I always love this about Game of Thrones, and they just give it to you in little bits. I do like how they say like she's the 100-year-old curse witch. I do like the visions, and I love the nods to the Green Men. You kind of see them wandering around here and there. You'll see like
Hmm.
one of them, and then they always have like the weird stuff with the weirwood trees. I love that stuff. The magic
Yeah,
of Game of Thrones, the world, the magic that gets kind of forgotten about.
the
To me,
mysticism.
that stuff is so interesting, and I love all the stuff with the children of the forest, the pacts with the first men, the fighting the original White Walkers, all that shit, man. That stuff, like really, the giant spiders, the giants, everything north of the wall. That
Yeah,
stuff, I love it. I love all that
yeah.
stuff.
I do too. I do too. And hopefully we can get something not so like large on a large scale, like another Dunkin' Egg. That's kind of like a little bit more smaller scale, and stop worrying about everybody, fighting over the fucking Red Keep and talking about the prince that was promised. That'd be great.
Yeah, please
That's all.
don't do that anymore.
Yeah, can we get something different? So,
Yeah.
um, Well, shit. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it for us. What a season. What a come from going like I mean, if you want to go way back from going 2011 for Game of Thrones, and
Mhm.
people wanting to read the books, getting involved, reading some of the books, that going here, there, everywhere, and to now actually being invested into another series of Game of Thrones, and then also to see it go from where it started to oh shit, we're in trouble. Once again, is definitely it's definitely something to think about. But hey, I definitely appreciate you coming on and doing this. I know we always talk about doing these more often. We would like to. You and I would like to do more of these, but the reality is that we're both so busy in our. It's so hard to line up our schedules
Really
for like the
big.
right times. And this, like last night was going to be perfect, and then we
Mhm.
couldn't, and then we just managed to like figure it out today. And like I said, I worked my butt off to get this figured out, and we got it figured out. So, man,
I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you. This is fun. I love hearing you blast off about things good or bad. So why don't
Yeah.
you take a moment to actually do that kind of promo, yourself and where everybody can find you. And it is in the description, everybody too.
Woof. You can find me at Raju Zane 80 on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. I think it's the Rohit Raju. I'm still on Twitter only because they have like over 10,000 followers on there, or else it wouldn't be. And then, of course, Threads. You can find me Raju's Rants on YouTube. You'll see me post some stuff here and there. And then also, I just joined a friend of mine, Randy Zella. He owns the Back Sports page. He asked me to do the cut with him, where it is a podcast. We will be on live from YouTube tomorrow night at 8:30, where
Nice.
we just talk about pro wrestling, and there is a chance that I might be at TNA soon doing a match on AMC. There's an X Division qualifying match, and I know my name's in the rumbling, so fingers crossed that you see me on there.
Yeah.
I will promote that on my socials if that's the case. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Gnarly, gnarly. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate obviously the chat. If you're able to pop in live while we're chit chatting, I know it's hard to sometimes navigate out of our running our mouse here, but I do appreciate that either way. It's always welcome to have that. If you're checking out this in post as well too, please. If you're not subscribing, it's your first time here, please do that. Of course, like this video and also comment and share. We love a little bit of engagement. We try to engage as much as possible. You can definitely catch Seven Dungeons normally Monday nights streaming D&D at 7 p.m. But because of the EV Mux issue, they weren't able to do it tonight too. They got a lot of stuff they'd have to fix, and not like mine. Theirs is hard. So, but you can catch them, and of course, Half-Ass Beer Review should be putting out that Great Lakes Beer Fest video sometime, hopefully in the next week or so. I know he's been editing that. That was a lot of fun. And then, as far as me, let me take a breath. If you have not yet, every Monday you can catch my weekly updates, content updates on Instagram, Fanboy Tone, of course, or here on Shorts, with YouTube, which don't get any views anymore. I don't know why that is. YouTube, love to hear that feedback. And then, of course, Wednesday nights I'm with Mercs Live over on Toy Mercs YouTube channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Me, Deadman, Ronan, and Rad talk toy photography and try to uplift the Mercs community. Then, of course, you can also catch me Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, live with the Rats Pack over on Rad Toys Galaxy's YouTube channel, where Rad, Zilla, Abby, and myself talk a little bit of everything. World making, still customizing, toy photography, toys, action figures, multimedia stuff. We do a lot of bits. We have a lot of laughs, and it's a lot of fun. So check that out as well, too, if you haven't. So I'm going to try and maybe get a Let's Set the Tone for this Saturday. I've talked to a couple people to reach out, see what some schedules are like. So hopefully I can pull something off this week. It would be nice to have another one of those. So, okay, now I can breathe and take in some more air. That's all the things I'm doing. But at the very least, we appreciate you popping in here, listening to us two grumpy old men talk about the things that we love, but also have issues with and like to critique. And that's just because it does come from love, because we like a lot of the things that we like. We want to see the best of them, and you have to be able to take the time to honestly and subjectively, objectively, whatever the right word is, constructively criticize those things, because nothing is perfect, and that's the point. Everything can be better in some ways. So, for myself, Fanboy Tone, and obviously for the man, the myth, the legend, Rohit Raju, we appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll probably see you real soon. We're gonna rant about something here in the very near future, no doubt. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.